I remember, I think it was about 2 years ago, the remake of Wipeout came out. It was the first 3 Wipeout games all rolled into one, and you know what, I'd just forgotten how much I loved arcade races as a kid. The fact that a big one of them was actually Wipeout certainly helped matters, and in those years I'd play all kinds of other races, and Burnout Paradise was the last to hold the torch there. I know full well that I'm not the only one to remember those times so fondly, and despite how so many of us loved these kinds of titles, the ones that come out now that are similar to them, they just don't seem to get the attention they deserve. We've got things like Spyro and Red Dead 2 soaking up all the limelight out there, so in this video I'm going to try and draw your attention to 2 titles deserving, just in case they slipped under your radar. So today we'll have a sesh with Grip and Onrush. Starting out with Grip, this game's got a bit of a history. It may be a wacky style racer from the past, yes, but it's basically a remake of a game called Roll Cage on the PlayStation 1. And you don't need me to tell you, this was the golden age of arcade racers, and for Grip to be a renamed remaster of one of them is a big deal. A chap called Robert Baker was a prominent developer on Roll Cage, and he's returned for Grip to oversee proceedings there. His presence, as well as a few others who worked on Roll Cage, is fairly obvious as you play Grip. The handling and the mechanics feel lovely, and the main draw of Grip is that you can whiz up walls and along ceilings and past everyone else if you're clever.
Remember the little red button? Yeah, push the little red button. And you may want to put on a seatbelt.
Your car doesn't have a top or a bottom. If you corkscrew out of a pipe-shaped tunnel, it doesn't matter how you land, you'll just keep going. It's all about just landing flat so you can keep your speed. And this mechanic alone has informed how Grip's racetracks are designed, and as a fan of arcade racers, I can't sing Grip's praises loud enough. The reason it's a big deal is that with any other racer out there, there's a process of mastering a track, as I'm sure you know, really understanding it. Now that Grip's racetracks can be learned on the flat, on the side, or upside down.
Going up the stairs and going down the stairs and going up the stairs and going down the stairs and going up the sideways stairs.
That learning process is all the more complex and ultimately more satisfying than your average racer. No matter how your vehicle twists and turns throughout the map, the camera twists accordingly and it keeps up. So you're never going to get that weird directional inversion on the stick, and the end result is just feeling like a badass. The number one similarity to Wipeout here is the pickup system. Like a grittier version of Mario Kart, you can pick up rockets, Gatling guns, speed boosters, and there's plenty of other things going on as well. You can boost your vehicle, you can earn that simply from driving, but then there's also the boost pickups. You can also shoot down parts of the environment to mess up the opposition. You chuck all of these things together, and Grip offers a real sense of speed and exhilaration that I've not really felt since Burnout Paradise, and that's something to write home about. And you can feel like a badass for a long time with Grip if you choose. For a game half of typical asking price, Grip is jam-packed with content and satisfying tracks to learn and dominate on. As you work your way through the campaign's tournaments, just when you thought you'd seen all of the tracks that Grip had to offer, it'll throw another one your way, more challenging than the last. A good old challenge is welcome. Grip is what it is, and it doesn't need to be any more than that. It knows exactly what kind of a beast it is. It's a no-nonsense arcade racer that is genuinely challenging to seasoned fans of the genre. And, what's more, it looks bloody brilliant in Unreal Engine 4, it loads quickly, it runs like a dream on the PS4, and it only takes up 2.5 gigs of your hard drive. You can pick it up on Steam as well. And now moving on to Onrush, this one's made by Codemasters. If you know their history, that should be enough to prick up your ears. Aside from the occasional foray into third-person games like Overlord, they've always made racing games, the first of which was BMX Simulator on the Atari way back in 1986. When it comes to vehicle mechanics, this studio has cultivated just over 30 years of what makes racing games handle well and feel good. Despite their accumulated talent in how to design racing games, Onrush released to little fanfare. Although if you have to compare it to anything, Onrush is closer to Burnout as Grip is closer to Wipeout. So a minor distinction there if you were going to choose one of these two games as a result of this video. There's a couple of things about Onrush that sets it apart from its minimal but current competition. Racing is involved here, yes, but it's hardly ever about coming first. Codemasters has embraced the destructive nature of making takedowns and being taken taken down so much that all the respawning you'll be doing would make the idea of coming out ahead a little bit of a tall order. There's even what's known in the game as fodder, riding on bikes and smaller vehicles for you to take down in order to get boosts, just little NPCs whizzing around for you to mess up. So if it's not all about coming first, what do you do to win in Onrush? Well, this idea was a good one on paper, but occasionally it does let the game down. It's basically a merging of working as a team in a first-person shooter, but with cars instead. Different vehicles have different power-ups. When you choose to onrush, once that meter has been filled, you could race as a tank unit and leave speed breaker barriers behind you, or you could be a support unit and use your onrush to provide a protective shield to others on your team. And that shield's only going to be good for when you get smacked by other vehicles or the aforementioned barriers. Onrush is a contact sport, so unlike Grip, you'll find no weapon pickups here. Game modes will leverage all of this into a kind of moving king of the hill through the racetrack, or to see which team gets the most takedowns. Like any good arcade racer worth its salt, a mastery of a racetrack will be needed to know the fastest routes, and in the case of Onrush, where to catch air in order to earn even more boost. And the only problem with these different classes of vehicles is that if they had varying speeds, it would be impossible to stick together as a team. So as a result, everyone kind of hovers around the same kind of speed capabilities. This causes what I'm sure the developer intended to be a lot of chaos and friction between racers, but it also makes certain areas of a track feel a little bit redundant if that route is going to inevitably lead you to falling back from the much needed action to win. You're never going to drive down that route. Grip seems to trump Onrush in terms of content too. Don't get me wrong, Onrush is heaps of fun, but I'm fairly certain that your honeymoon period with Onrush will die off far sooner than it will with Grip. Onrush has got a shed load of customization options, but only for its characters, so in my humble opinion, useless. But it is being updated all the time with limited online events. It has all the hallmarks of a crazy high production value racer, but it just feels a little lacking in the track department. While Grip kept me sucked in for a long time, and well, it still is really, Onrush kind of felt like it had blown its load in the first 5 hours or so. Its real staying power can be found in its online element, as battling other people makes a huge difference to how it plays, and once you're in that section of the game, it's fairly clear to see that most of the development effort went into the game's online aspect. But you get what you pay for, I suppose, and I picked up Onrush for a mere £10, probably around $13 if I had to guess, but Grip is currently around £20 or $25 again if I had to guess. I had a bunch of fun with these games. I know I said nothing bad about Grip and a few bad things about Onrush, so you've probably made your mind up on this. I mean, Grip has the occasional invisible wall on ramps, which proved to be fairly infuriating, and my controller's also on its way out, which is a problem, because the stick falls on the left whenever it wants, and I'm slamming the stick to the right, and the only thing that happens is that my vehicle slams into a wall because nothing happens. I could use my other controller, but it had grips on it before and they've kind of peeled off over the years, so now I'm left with this super icky, gooey, gross controller. It's like holding on to two sticky dildos, so yeah. But never mind all that, both games succeeded in giving me that warm, fuzzy feeling that I thought I'd lost somewhere back in the 90s. It's great to see an emergence of this arcade race genre, and frankly I think it's a big gap in the gaming market right now that could be filled with more great titles like these two. I hope I helped you to find your next beloved arcade racer. I hope you enjoyed this video and everything in it. I know I did. Go ahead and sub, guys, every one of them counts right now. I know, you look at the channel and you think, oh, only 72 subs, he must be shit, and that's cool. I'd probably think the same thing in your shoes, but like I always like to say with anything in life, it's like getting a new Pokemon. You gotta start at level 1 and grind. Help my grind to be a little shorter, guys. This is Nick for the Game Sesh, signing out for now. Take care, and I'll see you at the next sesh.